Hey, I'm Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. It's Friday, June 20th, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. We, as a collective of small business owners, in particular, martial arts school owners, just trying to figure this thing out, right? We want to create a profitable business that sustains us, our family, our retirement needs, our vacation needs. We want to take care of our teams. We want to give back to the community. And that's why you open a business. You don't open a business to be a terrible boss to yourself, right? You shouldn't, but many people do because they just don't have the skill set that goes along with whatever they choose. In this case, you're a martial arts school owner. You want to teach martial arts. Well, you're also martial arts business. If you don't understand business and marketing and in today's world, AI and the different things, you can really find yourself in this conundrum, for the lack of a better word, of mediocrity where you're simply getting by. And if you're running around 75 to 100 students, unless you have a day job with another paycheck, that's a real difficult road to hoe and make that your livelihood. So that's what we're all about. Let's begin by thanking our sponsors. And as you come aboard, I see James Walker here, resilient, strong in the beautiful state of Colorado. As you come aboard, say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. It's always a good day. I want to thank my sponsors, Tusaw, simply one of my favorite in martial arts supply. They're right up there with the other big boys. They're a family business. I am a family business. Market Muscle, Stephen Reinstein and the gang. I believe they have the best websites out there. They perform for us again and again and again. And they also allow my creativity to go into the back end anytime I want, add a pop-up, change my TV, change a photo, keep my website dynamic, which helps my SEO ranking. My studio, Tule and the gang, love you too. All these have been long-term sponsors of me, the first three. And it's because they understand that my voice is for the small school owner. My belief system's for the small school owner, which makes up the majority of our industry. But they don't censor me on anything that I do, and I'm very grateful for that. Kids love life skills, right? Simply, we all need a life skills system in place, and simply painting discipline up on your wall and saying we teach discipline, I think, is a huge illusion in our industry. Just because you're a black belt doesn't make you qualified to teach life skills. It does not. There's at least at this point over a decade worth of work and research put into Kids Love Life Skills. The reward system with the badges, the support materials, all those different things help you position your school as the go-to for parents in life skills education. LC Accounting, we all need a bookkeeper, and I'm going to talk about that today as I share my stories of this past week. And of course, Kin Creative. We do Facebook ads with them. I write copy for them. I design graphics for them. They're a good bunch of kids. It's a family business again, who saved their family school after the pandemic through their learning of social media and running Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram. And so I partner with them. And it takes money to make money. And it's amazing how our industry even chastises people that spend any kind of money on marketing. Just look at a spot on the Super Bowl, right? You get a commercial during the Super Bowl. How many millions of dollars is that, right? Real businesses don't balk at spending money on advertising. Again, we're one of the only industries who do that, and I don't understand why. It is a necessity because we do suffer from attrition, every one of us. Students will leave, and we're constantly trying to get new ones. Cool? All right. What's coming up, Marco? We got It's Time Life Freedom. It is. It's something truly special. Only 20 school owners, November 8th through 11th, right here in Millbury, California, 5 minutes from SFO. And it is a retreat. It's a pilgrimage. People come from Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, Canada, UK, all over the United States. I think that someone even came from Australia. And it's something truly special. Because if you transform your life, you transform your business. They go hand in hand. And so I encourage you to sign up for that. We'll put the link there in the comments. Our mentoring program, we're still getting it off the ground. I'm proud of the team and we're really learning what it takes to serve the school owner. You have somebody in your back pocket 24/7, 365. And that's what I think makes it very unique. It's not simply a one-off seminar where you can take a bunch of pictures for social media and say, look at me, I'm learning. No. We're there day in and day out, 24/7, 365, because we know if we're a mentor, which means we're in it for the long haul and we care about your personal success, that's truly the difference. A consultant wants to give you a broad stroke, solve a problem, see you later. We are your mentors. We are with you. And that's why I think it's truly, truly special. Put a link for that as well, Marco, and people can look at that. All right. So, today's issues is if you weren't here What would happen to your family and your business? And I know that's something people don't want to think about. It really, really isn't, because the fact that you're going to die one day is just not something we all want to dwell on, right? We don't. We don't. But I remember when I was on the East Coast consulting at Top Kick at the time, and Tule was a licensee for three of the franchises. We walked into one of the schools and it was 7:30 in the morning, 7:30 a.m. As we walk into the school, he goes, "I haven't been here for 3 months." And I looked at him like, "What? That's sacrilegious, dude. We're martial artists. We're supposed to be here every day, right? Wax on, wax off. We're supposed to teach the classes and janitor this school and market this school and then live here, right?" And then he asked me that question. If you got sick or hurt and couldn't work a day in your life, where would that business be in 6 months or a year? And at the time, my wife, we had just Braden, and he was a baby. He was a baby, maybe a year old. And we have a mortgage payment, and we were, newly married. And I went, wow, man. And that was, at that time, San Francisco was the only location we had. We were doing, $1 million a year with about a 35% net. But even with that said, I was teaching, every class because I had a bunch of teenagers at the time. And I was teaching a lot. And I went, wow, if I got sick or hurt and couldn't work, I would lose everything. My family would be bankrupt within a year. Within a year. Within a year. Wow. Right? And I thought I was all that in a bag of potato chips. I was being flown all over the place, speaking at all these conventions. Here's this guy doing $1 million a year with no contracts, no upgrades, no black belt club. I thought I was all that, and two brought me a very cold reality that made me sit down and think. So the first step, to ensure that my family was going to be well taken care of, I knew I could outsource the bookkeeping, the tax keeping. I could outsource the janitorial. I could outsource even the admin stuff. But it was on the mat where we generate the majority of our revenue. I needed to shore up. So I methodically went straight into fixing all the curriculum, putting it systemized, videos, everything. Hey, Bob Poole, Gold Martial Arts. I knew you'd be here, Bob. Thank you, sir. And so I got that tight and right. I trained the team. I really kept selling them on, this could be your career, this could be your career, this could be your career. I did that every day until I got a commitment. It's like courting somebody, right? And so that happened, and here I am today. I teach 1 day a week. Both locations are ran. I take really good care of my guys. I plan on taking care of them even better. Our next goal is to profit share. Our next goal is for them to take over the business, and I'll have this revenue stream well into retirement, because they can't afford to just buy me out point blank. But eventually the tide will shift, right? I make the lion's share right now, but eventually at some point it's got to change. It's got to change, right? And these businesses will be theirs. And that's my goal. And I fixed that. That was the first thing I fixed. That was super important to me. And so a lot of people don't know this, because I'm pretty private with that part of my life. But I had surgery 2 days ago on a Wednesday for a double hernia, and I was sitting there. What brought this all to light? Let me kind of give you this picture. I'm sitting in pre-op, and I got that stupid gown on where your butt's hanging out of the back, and I'm sitting there, and they got, in IVs and stuff, and they're asking me questions, and they go, "Hey, so you're here to do just the one hernia today?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm here for a double hernia." If you look in the messages with the doctor, him and I had a conversation, and he said, "Well, fix it." Well, he didn't tell the anesthesiologist. He didn't tell anybody else. And there's certain things that need to be put in place, because now we're no longer doing one hernia, we're doing two. And number two was in my belly button. And what that meant is they needed to slow down my breathing so my stomach doesn't go up and down, while he's working on me, right? You don't want somebody's cutting an even, you're breathing up and down and your stomach's moving. So he launched into, we're going to have to, stick a tube down your throat. We're going to slow down your breathing so your stomach's not doing all that stuff. But then he got to the disclosure, and it was a trip because the anesthesiologist was a doctor. And I'm going, "You're a doctor?" He goes, "Yeah." And we started having this whole discussion, about what it really means to be put under. And it's actually very dangerous when you're under. A lot of things could go wrong, such as a heart attack, such as a stroke, such as you could stop breathing, such as you could die. And I went, wow, that wasn't any really a discussion when we had just one hernia, but the fact that they had to slow down my breathing and all that stuff became an issue. So I had to sign a disclosure. And even though I was part starting, the anesthesia, the pre-anesthesia, I had this very level head about everything going on about me and making this decision because I like to work out. And if I can't lift weights, I'm not happy. That's part of keeping tone at 63. And I didn't want to go back and get the second hernia done at another time. So I chose to get them both done. And even at that moment, and there was other things going on. The guy to my left, open heart surgery. The guy over here was getting a nerve blocker for some spinal thing. This woman over here was getting eyelids, and all this stuff is going on around me. Just do 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 do. But I was in this place, and I was making very confident decisions because I was gonna. At first, I'm going, should I back out of the second surgery and just do the first one and call it a day? I wanted them both done, and I was very certain of that. But I'm going to tell you why, though. And please start taking notes because here's the important stuff. Begin by making sure all your affairs are in order, right? And I even sat there and recorded a video once everybody gave me a little space. And I said, here's a couple of things that aren't in my living trust I want to be very clear on. Made this video, dated it, said everything, and I even had that as a backup. But first thing you need to do is make sure everything in your accounting and bookkeeping and bank accounts are tight and right. Everything are tight and right. And I'll start with that. When I learned about a book called Profit First, if you haven't read it, please read it. It gave me a lot of clarity on how to set up my financial situation where I could take money and save for my retirement and do these different things. So, Profit First, quick bird's eye view. First account, income. My second bank account, taxes. My third account, owner's compensation. My fourth account, profits. My fifth account, expenses. All five are separated. Yeah, for one business. The fact that most people throw all their money into one pot, I think convolutes it, right? Because part of that money is not yours. It's Uncle Sam's in taxes, right? A lot of people pay all their bills and at the end of the month, what's left over, they live on. That's not a good business mindset. You need to take enough of a livable wage to take care of your personal expenses. And of course, that fourth account, profit, if you're not thinking in a profit fashion, then you're never going to become a profitable business. I don't care if it's $10. On the 10th and the 25th, we take profit. And that's super important. Or in this case, I fund my 401k, safe harbor retirement. And then, of course, the last one is expenses. And if you learn to live within your means, and that's really important, within your means, you'll be able to manage that expense account and not go over. Because if I'm taking money out of owner's comp or taking money out of taxes, to fund the expense account, that is a bad business model. So by having everything set up that way, I have a very clear view, especially when it comes to tax time, to export files out of there, right? QuickBook files are so easy to do now. And if you separate things more in this case, the better your bookkeeper and tax keeper can manage it. Now, what does that have to do with me not being here? Well, if I'm not here, all my ducks are in a row. So you're able to look at each business differently, right? San Francisco has 5 accounts. Millbury has 5 accounts. Kids Love Life Skills has 1 account right now because it's all that's necessary. My Brannon Beliso Consulting has 1 account. My personal stuff has 1 account. Even in our credit card situation, 1 credit card for San Francisco, 1 credit card for Millbury, 1 credit card for Brannon Consulting, 1 credit card for Kids Love Life Skills, and 1 credit card for my personal expenses. Everything is separated. That way we can scrutinize our expenses and be able to recognize where we're overspending or if there's a discrepancy. And I know people think that's really very complicated. It's not. It's not at all. It actually works really, really well. So by having all that set up, we have logins, we have passwords, I have a master sheet. So if I was not here, something happened to me in that surgery, the people that need to have access to my monies and the different things will do so with ease. Do so with ease. Doesn't it help if you bury money in the somewhere in the backyard and someone's got to sit there and go on a treasure hunt? You want things to be tight and you want them to be right. You with me? Yeah, it sounds a little complicated at first, but once you dial all that stuff in, it's not that hard. And as you come aboard, say hi. I want to know who's here hanging out with me. Who's hanging out with me? So that was important. As I went under and I had to make these decisions, and I was in a semi, getting loopy at that moment because it's the pre-anesthesia, and hearing all this stuff was pretty intense. Like he told me he's going to put this tube down my throat, and if my vocal cords, because like when you have something you cough, it was very possible my throat was going to reject it, right? Because he said you got a pretty small throat, blah 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 blah. Even if I use the smallest tube, I might have to wake you up out of anesthesia in the middle of this and make you drink a numbing solution so that your throat doesn't move when the tube's down there. I said, oh, here we go. And there was that added into the mix. But it's amazing how I knew, having all these things in place, that if for some reason it was my time to go and God was going to take me, so be it. So be it. Everything around me, the moving parts would still be set and in place for people to function, even down to my studio, right? The team being able to run the business without me, right? During some, say, chaotic, say I wasn't here, they'd still be able to do business as usual. And that's the good news. And that gave me, and today gives me great peace of mind. I mean, I'm pretty much indisposed for the next week or so. And it was very peaceful to know that all the moving parts are in place. My bookkeeper, which is my sister Letitia at LC Accounting, could continue to pay all the bills, payroll, and everything. And we're in the middle of summer camp. All that would be happening. All of it would be happening. My personal expenses, everything's set up for mortgage payments, insurance payments, everything's set up in auto pays. So, I'm going to encourage you to get that stuff tight and right. Tight and right. Right. And then you have a master list, this master list of all the logins and passwords and things like that. Vital, 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 vital. And again, by separating the businesses with different credit cards and stuff, you not only can get a bird's eye view of what, that particular business is about, Kids Love Life Skill, It's Time Consulting. You can sit there and be able to shut things down just as easily. Right? If I'm not here, if I'm not alive, there's no reason for me to be having any consulting expenses. They're done. You close that account, you're able to move, and everything else is still business as usual. Can you see that? Can everybody see that? And go ahead and put stuff in the comments. I'd love to hear your feelings about this. And for those of you coming aboard that are here, say hi. Say hi, say hi. So that, again, I know it's a little surreal. Just that vision of being in pre-op but having the ability to make such a confident decision was because of all the hard work I've done, based upon Tule saying to me, over a decade ago, if you get sick or hurt and can't work a day of your life, what happens to your family and your business? And so again, everyday classes, solid. TJ and Lucas, solid as the day is long. Solid. They've only ever really worked with me and for me. And as long as I help fulfill their needs and their lives and what they want to do with their families, everything, I'm right as rain. And that's why, when you have great people, I believe that's the other thing. Take really good care of them. Don't just look at them as paying like a personal trainer or a kindergarten teacher. The peace of mind I had to schedule my surgery, knowing these guys will take care of the businesses, is just a gift. Sure, I've worked methodically to position myself this way. It's taken a lot of work and time and effort. It's not, San Francisco's been there 25 years. Millbury's been there for 10. This didn't happen overnight. But the fact that I was able to go, yep, schedule my surgery here. Yep, let's do this, with total confidence. They can run camps at both locations. They can run classes at both locations. It's a good feeling. Look at me, third day, post-op, and look at me. I'm so grateful. Hey, Miss Moweek from Karate for Girls. So that was a vital part too. Now here's a big one. So we went through profit first. You got everything right. You got your master list with all your logins and passwords and everything like that. Everything's separated, your different businesses. The right people have access to them, right? I don't want anyone looking for my password if I'm not here anymore. Letitia's tight. She's tied into my wife. She would take care of everything with that. I have an accountant, a very good accountant, who would deal with all the other stuff that comes with that. Because as I, began looking into it, there's steps. When somebody dies, you just don't instantly get, your $1 million life insurance policy and it's business as usual. There's steps that need to happen. So having a great accountant, a great bookkeeper is vital, So great team, TJ Lucas, right? And the rest of the team there. After school, everybody, right? I've got a great accountant. I have a great bookkeeper. Cool? Dialed in. Because I don't want my wife dealing with this stuff if I'm not here anymore. she's already going to be in a very poor state, if I should pass, right? I mean, that's just the truth. So to make those things tight and right are important, very important. Now, a living trust. How many of you have a living trust? If you don't, get one done. And in the world of ChatGPT, you could probably put one together, pretty simply. Mine's a little more complicated because of all the businesses and my investments and stuff, but it's pretty simple. You could go to ChatGPT, do a living trust, go down to a notary public and get it notarized, and it's tight and right. Give a copy to someone like your sister, a copy to your wife, whoever. I keep one in the safe. I'm going to get a digital copy and then constantly update it. I think people do a living trust and then they never update it. And there were a couple of things I haven't updated it with. So that's why I made a video right there in pre-op saying these 3 things are not in my living trust. If something should happen from this, please know that this is legit. It's tight and right. The doc is sitting here in this desk. Grab it. Somebody put it in the living trust binder. I know, right? I know, but I'm telling you, the confidence I felt making decisions in pre-op were all because these things were put in place. They were put in place. And so living trust is really important, because there's things like directives, right? And they asked that, do you have a directive? I said, yeah, I do. I have a medical directive and it's all right there, right? Whether it's donating organs or do not resuscitate, I won't get into the personal details of that, but all that stuff should be there. It really should be there. And for you youngins out there, you think it's not necessary. It is necessary. It's very necessary. If you have any kind of wealth, a home, a car, anything, you want to make sure that things are tight and right. So there's no people fighting, no arguments, different things that can arise in those situations, right? So living trust. And if you don't know what that is, again, I'd recommend you set up a chat bot with ChatGPT and say, you are going to be my living trust bot. All you do is help me write the best living trust possible. And then you tell it its needs, you tell them your expenses, and it can do it. Believe me, I just got a certification in AI learning. And as I learn more and more about it, its ability to resource and gather you information is powerful. And like I learned at Harvard when I spoke at Tulay's My Studio event, listening to the professor before me before I spoke, everything's case study. Case study. Just do your homework. And now in today's world of information, doing your homework is easier than ever because you can get the best information out there, right, for your needs. And then, of course, that living trust should relate to county and state laws and all the rest, right, because you're governed by certain things in one county may not be the same as New York. You with me? Okay, so put some of your questions down there. Put your comments. Give me your thoughts. I'd be happy to entertain your questions. And then I'll go into the next phase of that. Cool. All right, as you got them, throw them in there. And there's nothing morbid about this. I mean, the 2 things you can't avoid is dying and paying taxes. That's just life. But again, I'm not worried about me when I pass because I'm dead. I'm dead. It's the people that are left here, right? The people that have to deal with the mess and deal with all that. So I think part of my purpose in serving my family is to make sure this stuff is tight and right. Tight and right. And so, methodically going through it and keeping it updated in the living trust, super, super important. Super important. Updating passwords and keeping a master sheet, super important, right? Who has access to what? Because if there's anything out there in the world that needs me to access it and nobody else can, that could put a cog in the wheel. That can slow things down tremendously, tremendously. So that mindset, I know nobody wants to think about it, right? They just don't. I know you don't because most humans don't want to think about that part of life. But it's something if you take care of, you're going to be very happy. And there's Letitia from LC Accounting. We're just talking about you, Tish, a lot. And so that stuff's important for me, right? It's very important for me. I realized the one weakness in my link yesterday, on Wednesday as I went into surgery, as I was making that extra video, is I have to keep my living trust updated. So that's why I want to get a digital copy. I'm going to reach out to my living trust guy. Maybe I'll have Letitia do that. Give me a digital copy from Hong Chu He's the guy who did my living trust in Millbrae. And because I want a digital copy, I don't have a digital copy of it because I want to put it in a couple of places where people have access to it. So there's no discrepancy. Hey, Karth, what's happening? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? So as you guys come aboard, say hi, tell me who you are. And as we lean into this subject, this part will be it's short because there's just fundamental moving parts. And once that's done, we can talk about summer and how things are going and the strategies we're employing right now for these tough summer months for some people. So to get everybody up to speed, the things that we need. I love Profit First. As I shared, my bank accounts are set up tight and right. Letitia has access to everything of mine. I've got a great account in place. I have a lawyer in place. I have a living trust in place. So if somehow, some way, I didn't make it through all of that, then people would be able to move and take care of things. The only thing we got to work on, and I know this is weird to talk about, because once I'm gone, I don't care what you do with my body. You could, dance on my grave. I don't care. But my wife wants to be buried. I get it. I totally get it. We have a sister who passed away 20 plus years ago. Who's very dear to all of me and Letitia and our family. And we can't visit her. She's not in a grave. She's in my brother-in-law's house. Her ashes in a Betty Boop cookie jar. And I think it's jacked up. And I would love to go to a cemetery and just sit there and meditate. I'm next to my sister's grave. But that's not there. So I realize that's for people that are left here. So if my wife wants to be buried, guess what? We're going to be buried. That's the only thing we don't have in place. So even though it's not even that time yet, looking for burial plots and things like that, what a trip, right? But it needs to be done. That's the only thing on my list that we haven't done that needs to be done next. And we'll take care of that. We'll take care of that. But I think in death, we celebrate life. And as I was signing that disclosure that you could have a heart attack or stop breathing or have a stroke, I didn't realize because I'm 63, they got to tell me that shit, right? And all the different things that go with anesthesia. It's not something that's at the forefront of my frontal lobe every day. I don't walk around going, you know what, I could have a stroke or a heart attack. But when you're sitting there with a doctor and they're telling you, when you're under the anesthesia, these are the things that could happen. I was like, oh, well, that's a pretty rude awakening. But again, because these other things are in place, I confidently made decisions so I could come out on the other side of this with no hernias and be able to lift weights again and do what I want to do efficiently. But as I shared for the people coming aboard, there was one moment where I said, well, let's not do the second hernia. Let's just leave it alone. I don't want you to stick a tube down my throat. And I want you to slow down my breathing, so my stomach doesn't go up and down while he's cutting into my belly button. And I was going to let it go. But then I said, no, I'm here. Let's get this done. Right. But I did that confidently, knowing I have a living trust, that I have, pretty much everything in place. Right. So I think that's very important. And I wouldn't encourage you to procrastinate on it. I'm going to confidently tell you, get it done. I've had a living trust now for, a long time. That I took care of a long time ago, just like I took care of how is my family going to eat and survive. TJ and Lucas can run these schools without me. I work 1 day a week. So if some reason something had happened, my family would still get income. My family would still keep the home, right? I have $1 million life insurance policy. Now, it's a term life policy, and I did that when I didn't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money. I have good money. But today, if when this term life insurance is up, I'm probably not going to renew it because I can take that money and make more money in the stock market and investments today than I can sitting on some term life insurance. But don't do annuities, please. Don't do some annuity life insurance thing. Promise. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do it now. Don't do it ever. And that's a whole nother conversation. But if I was just starting out, I would have a term life insurance because I just wanted to know my home was going to be paid for and my family wouldn't be stuck with that. The biggest expense we have is our mortgage payment, right? And our property taxes every year, for the home stuff. Everything else my wife can handle. Everything else we have enough income coming in from the schools to be able to take care of their expenses. And that was important for me. So those things are tight and right. But today where I'm at, I would never have a life insurance policy. I just doesn't make me money, just money out, right? but it's a good safety net if you're just starting out and you want to make sure that something is there if something should happen to you. Cool? We good? We good? We good? So what questions you have? Is everybody a little overwhelmed by this? I did this for the kin group yesterday, and they were kind of like, because it is. I mean, nobody likes to talk about death. Nobody wants to talk about what happens, if something happens to you, but it leaves so many people unprepared. And for me, that's just not a good place to be. Cool? All right. Questions. Come on. Be with me. Join the chat. Okay. So we got that tight and right. Everybody good on that? All right. So let's move forward. Summer's here, man. We're in it. We're freaking in it. And me and Mark were just talking about that. And you get all those students who go on hold, and that's just part of the course. We have the trickling in of summertime kids. That's a good day. Our camps are rocking. They're rocking at both locations. And the gamble we take, because we're a premium camp, is that people book a week. If they love it, they book more weeks. And we're seeing that happen. Simultaneously, to ensure that, I'm running camp ads at Facebook, camp ads at Instagram, camp ads at Google, camp ads at Nextdoor. And I'm keeping my Yelp page updated all the time. That's just what it takes, folks. I'm going to tell you, you don't market one way to 70 people. You market 70 ways to 70 people. And that includes spending money. But in return, as I looked today, I went, wow. I was just taking a brief, right? You can see it right here. Camp. Oh, you can't see the rest of them. There was like 4 or 5 camps today. I must have deleted, but there's another camp right there. Loki at gmail.com. So I had about 5 inquiries about camp today. And simultaneously, I'm getting ready to run a direct mail piece for my after school program. We get a lot of mileage in Millbrae, but I want to try something different. Maybe if I get into their house in front of them, hard copy, with our after school program, which doesn't start until August 16th, but we're already promoting it now, right? Success is something you plan for. It's not something you do a Hail Mary pass at the end of the month when you're trying to get 10 more students to make rent. And I get that call all the time. I just need 10 more students. I'm trying to make rent. You got any ideas to get students quickly? No. My best idea is you need to go back to school, buddy, and study some business and plan a budget and stick to your budget and save for a rainy day. We all know summers are slow, right? There might be a unicorn out there that's just getting 1 billion students during the summer, but overall, summers are what they are. I don't trip on it. We just budget properly. We're taking all this money in from camp January, February, March. Ask Letitia. We were setting it aside for payroll, right, Tish? I mean, that's just what you do. You set it aside. And that's why I'm not into having one bank account, putting everything into it, and then, living that way. We have 5 separate accounts for every as well. Income, taxes, owner's comp, profit, expenses. 5 accounts for every location, right? That's super important. Super important. So again, I just got back from Lake Tahoe in Reno. My daughter had a big soccer tournament, and we took a family vacation. To be able to do those things are valuable. Our kids are only here for a second, and they're going to be gone, right? And they're going to be out in the world doing what they do. So to be able to do that, and we go to Vegas in July, we go to Japan in July, and I have some other stuff planned. And that's what summer's about. We're painting the schools. We're working on curriculum videos. We're preparing for after school with this direct mail piece. So summertime is not dead time. Summertime is the time to ramp up. You put your foot on the gas and you grind hard during the summer while we do all these family vacations, right? There's all these other moving parts that go on. Hey, Ralph from Switzerland. My brother from Switzerland, excellent martial arts. And Ralph is going to Vegas with his family. And every time I hear that, because when Ralph came to me, he had 68 students, maybe, Ralph, was that right? 68. And he's at 200 plus now, somewhere in there. And he's able to do stuff with his family. And I'm just so happy for him. But Ralph is a great student. He's such a great student. And he has his own creative ideas too. So to be a great student and take what I've offered him and make it his own and create his own brand with excellent martial arts and stuff is just powerful. Powerful. Let's see what Karth is sharing. Keeping busy prepping for July to October programs. Business handbook in progress. So we are hustling. Good. I love it. I love it. So are we. I just did all the curriculum videos before I got this hernia surgery. So we're good with curriculum through September, through August. But come September, and I'll be fine, right? I got 4 weeks. It's June 20th now. So I'll be fine by July 20th. I'll be able to hop in there in the middle of August and get the next round of videos done for the last cycle, because it's a lot of curriculum. And I'm very excited for that because we're revamping, overhauling our entire curriculum, making it more learning and comprehensive, staying true to the roots of Kenpo, but still progressing. So I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to improve our attrition tremendously, with what we're doing. Because when people are having fun learning, people are having fun teaching, and it's just not simply trying to get you to memorize these 200 move forms by themselves is a good day. Such a good day. So I think the curriculum overhaul is going to make everybody much happier. And then I'm also revamping Excellent Kids because it's now a parenting class. And you've seen the videos. We've done so well with Excellent Kids and this new connect, with your parent, this time of life between 3 years old and 6, just it's magical. So to be able to get on the mat with your kid for a full class, and it's done really well. It's done so well. I'm so excited about that. So if you're looking for that program, um, I'm going to train the first batch myself directly through Zoom. We're going to train together every drill. You're going to understand how to make this program rock because I believe in it. I believe in it a lot. So yeah, you're right, Garth. Summer's got to be, there's always something to be done in our business. Hopefully, if everything goes well, I'm going to remat San Francisco. Yep, that's right. We got the Art and Wine Festival during Labor Day weekend. And I also want to redo the mats because there's no downtime. And we're closed for Labor Day weekend. So that gives me 3 days to get it done. I know. People think I'm nuts. Well, I was in Hawaii at a wedding while we were remodeling San Francisco during Labor Day weekend. But that's what we do. I mean, that's what entrepreneurs do. We take risks. We go out there. We do what nobody else does. And I dig it. And if I have to do the Art and Wine Festival all day, then pack up and go to school and, go to the school at night and cut those mats and get them all fitted in, we'll do it. We'll do it. I mean, there's just, it's not even a discussion, right? Successful people are just willing to do what unsuccessful people are not. That's all. That's all we do, right? That's all we do. I walked into camp, was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and the sliding door, right? Because I don't know why, just the way they made us do this. There's a sliding door, which I can't stand, right? But it's because the door doesn't swing a certain way, and for handicap accessibility, they made us put in a sliding door. And we did. It was off the hinges. I walked into camp and it was off the hinges. And I had 30 minutes before my only class I teach on Thursdays, right? The only day I teach. And we looked at this door, we took it off, we got it up, and I made it on the mat, to do the life talk. That's what we do. That's what we freaking do. And if you're not willing to flow like that, which is often hard for a lot of people in business, they don't like change. But if you don't like change, you'll never grow your business. And I say that from having San Francisco for 25 years, going through the dot-com bust, going through the mortgage crisis, going through the pandemic. In San Francisco, oh man, to go through all those different things and the changes that go with them. If you don't have the ability to change, people get really uptight. Somebody said that you're always changing things, you're changing things. And I said, well, that's why we're relevant. That's why we're relevant. And the changes, we're making a lot of changes in our camp, as well as our after school program. We're revamping that right now this summer. And camp is in motion. It's in motion, people. So we're making changes, and some of the teams got their panties in the wad and they're not happy. And I'm just saying, guys, if we're going to live your best life, again, our purpose statement, if we're going to live our best life, change is vital. And if I don't like the way this mod is ran with checkers, I'm going to write a better system for it, so it's ran more efficiently, right? And you only have camp training for 4 hours, with this team. So a lot of it's on the job training. That's just the way it goes. And people get it, people don't, and it's okay. It's okay. It's not for everybody. What's Ralph sharing? Without you, we'd be nowhere. Thank you for always being there with heart, strength, and loyalty. Thank you. Hope to see you in Vegas. Started with 68, remained steady today with 210. That's phenomenal. Think of the amount of revenue to go from 68 students to 210 on a monthly basis. I'm so happy for you, Ralph. I love his daughters. I love to joke with them, but I know they look at me like the crazy American. But that's okay. That's all right. So yeah, summer is a good time. It's a really good time because for me, it's a work-life balance, right? Taking care of this surgery. I waited. It wasn't thing that had to happen right away. So summer's a good time to do that. But I couldn't make this move unless I had a great team to run these locations, right? And with TJ and Lucas and Sifu Bender and Sifu Fiddler, the main core people, and Carrie Ann and Mr. Moore, without them, there's no freaking way, right? So to have that peace of mind is just something you can't even begin to measure with a dollar. You cannot begin to measure at all. So ask yourself that question right now, everybody who's with me. What gives you the greatest peace of mind? Put it in the comments. What gives you the greatest peace of mind? And for me, the biggest thing is I say it to Sam on all the time. Every morning, pretty much every morning, I say, "Good morning, Sam. I'm ready to secure my family's future." Right? Then we discuss stocks, and he'll text me and what's going on in the market, and we have that relationship. But that's my mindset. The greatest peace of mind I have is securing my family's future. I don't wake up every day on pins and needles. What if today is my last day? Because honestly, at 63, right, I have more years behind me than I do in front of me. I don't think I'm going to live another 64 years, right? And what would that life be like at 100 something? I don't know. I don't know. But so I do. I wake up with a deep sense of gratitude every day. The relationships, again, Ralph being here, that to me is more valuable than, all the tea in China, as one would say. The quality of our relationships, the quality of the moments we share with people, the quality to serve. I'm a person of service. I like serving. Offering this show is a form of service, right? It's a form of service. So for me, when you ask yourself that question, be very clear about it. Because if you can see it, you can be it. And if your goal is to secure your family's future, then go out there and get the information you need to do so. Right? What does that look like? What does that look like? And I'm very blessed. I'm grateful to say we're not quite there. With my personal retirement, I have a bigger number than that's there yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, Sam has said it, you've done very well, and you're more fortunate than a lot of people, but it's very disciplined to put money into a retirement account and save that and do those different things while having kids that still need to go to college, that still need other things, right? So finding that work-life balance for me is super important. And summer is a very glaring light on that. As you saw just in the past week, I was at a soccer tournament in Tahoe and Reno. Then I just had surgery, and I sat there last night working on curriculum grids with the new curriculum stuff on and on. But I do so with a very blessed and grateful heart. I think that is the biggest thing that helped me when I was sitting there, as I shared pre-op, and he's going through, now we're going to need to do ABC. And with that comes these potential complications, right? I was very calm while all this chaos was going on around me. I told my wife, this guy to the left, open heart surgery. This guy to the right, getting a nerve blocker for spinal surgery. This one there was getting eyelids, some kind of cosmetic surgery. And all this chaos, this orchestrated chaos was going around me. And I only had one decision, right? And to sign this disclosure. And I was very clear about it. And it's because the disciplined work that I've done since Tule said to me, if you get sick or hurt, can't work a day in your life, how long would it be before you lost your business? Where would that leave your family? And that was over a decade ago. And methodically, I've worked to this point. I've still got a long way to go. I got a long way to go. I do. And that's okay. But we're on the right path. See, so if you want to secure your family's future, if you want to set things up in case you were gone tomorrow, understand it's a very disciplined path to achieve that, right? To achieve that. And it's easy for people to say if they don't have kids and all that, well, you should just save. Well, no, you got kids. Kids are expensive. Kids cost a lot of money. They have a lot of needs, right? So, and we live well. So that costs money, right? You can't take any of it with you, but you want to be mindful. You're living longer, you're living older. That's a fact. So we want to save that money into retirement, right? So we can create that. And that's really what your business should do for you. And I think that's the other mindset shift is that I used to think, much like watching people I knew, that you open this business, you work like a dog, as long as you can, 70s, whatever, 80, and then you whatever little bit is left, you just live on it. I don't think that's life for me. I've been very blessed in 25 years to do a lot of different things, go a lot of places, do a lot of different things. So, the better part of my life has been spent not working. I think it's a big bummer to work 40 plus years in a company, to have what, 10, 15 years of retirement? That doesn't make any sense to me. Makes zero sense to me. I want to methodically along the way be retired while I'm working. Does that make sense? Right? Someone said, "When are you going to retire?" I said, "Never." They go, "Why not?" Well, look at Warren Buffett. He's just stepping down at 95. He's a billionaire. He's one of the richest men in the world. Why does he go to work every day? Purpose. It gives him purpose. Same thing here. There's nothing more joyful than to walk into day camp with cookies. My wife did that the other day and just have cookies for the kids. You walk into that school, there's no war, there's no politics, there's none of that. There's just kids. And that's amazing. To me, that's amazing. To be able to do that, why would I ever want to stop doing that? To sit on the mat and design new curriculum. I do all the curriculum videos alone. So I sit there with my camera, everything's set up, and I'm grinding them out. There's something very magical about that. This is my legacy. I've been afraid to do it for 2 years. I just kind of sloughed it off. It was the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. But we needed to revamp the curriculum. We do so every 7 years. This window's been a little longer. It's been like 8, but I'm getting it done. And I probably won't do it again. Next round will have to be on TJ, right? This is my legacy. So there's a lot of things going on, but to do so with a deep sense of gratitude, with the mindset of abundance, it attracts wealth into your space. It attracts more students into your space. But if you begrudgingly wake up every day and look at what you do as a job and you can't wait till you retire, that's not living for me. That's surviving. So again, as I'm reflecting on all these things, and I was sharing with Marco before we started today. Today's the roughest day. I'm in the most pain I've ever been, but it's just ibuprofen and Tylenol. But it's setting in. I think I got too excited. The first day, it's so funny. I watched Braden play 2 basketball games, and I had just gotten out of surgery at 1 o'clock, and he had 2 games that evening. I watched them. I sat there on the bleachers and watched them. Must have been the anesthesia hadn't worn off yet, but I sat and watched him. And then yesterday he had a game, and we cooked for all his buddies. They came over last night, and I made one of their favorites. They like Loco Moco, and here I am with you today. Because life is life, and it's precious. And I watch so many school owners that are disgruntled and they're jaded and they're negative, and they wonder why they're stuck at 75 students because nobody's going to pay you money. You're a grouchy person. You hate your life. You hate your job. That's not inspiring at all, right? So you have to make that decision. And when you can make those type of decisions mentally, it all spills over. The law of abundance, the law of attraction, the things that I share with people all the time. And it requires that because it inspires your team. It inspires the campers. It inspires your students. It inspires the parents. It's just all the way around. And remember, you are the conductor. You're the visionary. You're the architect of your business and your own life. And if you can cultivate that, then you cultivate a team. Now, why do I say that passionately? Because if you buy from me, that's transactional. But if I get you to believe in me, everything changes. On the front end, a deeper relationship, a more meaningful relationship, a more personally profitable relationship. On the back end, you will make money. You will make money. Cool. All right. So that's today's show. If you got anything you want to ask me, please put it in there. I'm going to start wrapping this up a little bit. So let's begin by thanking our sponsors. Who do we have? Marco, Tucson Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, Kid Creative, all people I love, all people I work with, all people I do business with that impact my life, impact my businesses, and help me in many, many ways. So if you're looking for a martial arts supplier, website, CRM system, life skills, bookkeeping, or digital media, all things you need to be successful in your business. Check them all out. Yeah, the hardest part is having a clear vision. You know why that is, Ralph? Because our vision changes. And that's why, even though the vision may change, Ralph, the purpose is clear, right? Yours is to be excellent. Mine is live your best life. That never changes. But as I shared, the reason we're still here after 25 years in San Francisco, 10 years in Millbrae, is because we understand change is key. We're always changing, we're always evolving. But the one steady, live your best life. That doesn't change, Ralph, ever. My core values, integrity, to do the right thing, no matter what changes are going on, I will do the right thing. So anytime I feel that the vision is blurred and I don't have clarity, I can always anchor myself in one of my core values. So go through your core values, have them there with you all the time. And anytime things start getting blurry or fuzzy with your vision, just anchor yourself, right? Anchor yourself, and that clarity comes back into focus real quickly. What we got coming up, it's Time Life Freedom, November 8th through 11th. I encourage you to be there. 20 school owners, 4 days. It's a pilgrimage. It's not a seminar. It's not like anything else out there. This is our 9th year, our 9th offering. And that's the new beach we found, Ralph. It's a beautiful beach. And we're going to go there again out at Fort Baker. Spend 4 days with us. It'll change your life. If you want to make an investment, that's the one investment I encourage. And Marco will put the link in there. And then, of course, our mentoring. I posted that a while back, that the difference between a consultant and a mentor. A consultant, it's one-off. You bring them a problem, they solve it, you pay them, they're done, right? A mentor is somebody that's with you for the long haul, right? They want that relationship. They want to see your long-term success. And that's why I'm not big on a seminar. That's one day. You work with us on our mentoring program day in, day out, 24/7, 365. We're in your back pocket, and we're there for you. So whether it's remodeling the school, or a disgruntled parent, or writing a system, or a position agreement, or training your team, all those things come into play when you have a great mentor. Cool. All right. So what's my big takeaway today? I think life is very precious. It's so fragile, and 1 minute we're here, 1 minute we're not. And I saw this one post, and it just, there was recently that awful crash in India with the plane, right? That just took off and crashed. And somebody had sent a photo to their family before they thought they were taking off to go to England. And it was a man and his wife and their 2 kids, and they were migrating to England. And that never happened. But in that moment, of joy, they were smiling. We got all our ducks in a row. We're moving to England. Here we go. And then something catastrophic like that happens. So as we're grinding, as we're, success never sleeps. I worked the 80s, so I don't have to do the 40. Dun, 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 dun. I get it. I get it. Now stop and kiss your kids. Shut that computer when they need you. Be present for yourself. Be present for your family. Be present in everything. But do not let that be an excuse to not grow your business to the level that you deserve. So you have that peace of mind. Get your living trust done. Read the book Profit First. Get your accountant, your lawyer, your bookkeeper, everything tight and right. Get all your passwords. Get everything set up. So if something should happen to you, your family's taken care of. Get that great team in place. Pay them well. The fact that I don't teach, I work 1 day a week teaching, those guys are fine without me. And I know my family's taken care of. Cool? All right. So how do you find me? Easy to find me. You can find my podcast on all the major platforms: Apple, Amazon, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, all of them, Spotify. It's there. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Lots of great learning there. Become part of our Disruptor group or a Success Never Sleeps group or It's Time Group Mentor. We have all these great groups giving real solid information to help you create your version of success. And for everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com. Cool? All right, folks, I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.